I missed that of NATE, and I watched the full presentation of NAEC. So let me start from NAEC, sir. I'm very enthused by the presentation of NAEC. And I want to highlight the issues that really touched me. That they have applied for a piece of land in Abuja for their headquarters is something highly commendable. They have created divisions. They have created some divisions, also commendable. And they have created also some branches. Now, plan approved. So I want to plead with NSC and ACEN to show NAEC the way. Please, you have to help them. 2, he wants to go on advocacy visit to all the states and to mobilize support, because he says something. Most often, organizations sponsor high caliber individuals. They sponsor the engineers, the technologists. They hardly sponsor craftsmen to come to assembly. And most of you here are chief executives or very senior members of the profession who have craftsmen working under you. So I want to join my voice today as also to appeal that we should make it a conscious effort. There should be in fact, we should develop a template, mentorship of craftsmen to our engineers. For every one engineer, NAEC is a stable platform. NICET is fluid. It's a transition group. So I don't really care about them in terms of membership growth as much, but we need to care about the growth of membership of NAEC. Because he talked about some organizations, like there's one called BACA, the NSC supported one time. And I was telling the NSC president, please, let's see how they can link them with NAEC, so that all of them will be, they can have the association as like a division or whatever, but let them be all registered with NAEC, so that we grow the membership of NAEC. And so my real plea is for support to NAEC. And I want NSC president, before he leaves today, to make a promise of a definite assistance to NAEC. I want also ACEN president to make a definite pronouncement on support to NAEC. For NICET, you have the capacity to generate. I know you are going through a lot of trouble, but run through them and generate your own money. Don't come begging, because you have the capacity to generate your resources. However, I think the transition is going on smoothly, and we'd like to thank the president of COREN for giving all the support to make you strong. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. NAEC, aren't you lucky? You have a senior advocate here. So, the NSC president, I believe, has taken note. Perhaps you may want to make a response. Whether the definite promise will come now or later. NSC president.
Thank you. Past president of NSC, past president of COREN, Engineer Kashim. Yes, the Nigerian Society of Engineers is worried about the inverted pyramid. And to support the development of the craftsmen and the other cadres, we came up with what we call TVET. Our advocacy on TVET has taken us to the level that we are going to be awarding people and bodies that are promoting TVET through what we call TVET ambassadors. The first TVET ambassador is the governor of Borno State. The second is the governor of Bayelsa State. So we have given those awards to tell you that we are supporting them. However, on financial support and carrying the NAEC and other cadres, I think we are doing well. and I assure you that we will continue to do. But I will not make categorical statement on what we are going to give them. We will look at our budget. We also have problems of financing. But I assure you, as the first son, we are going to do our best.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think the president of NAEC may also have to make a response to the Engineer Kashim Ali's comment, because I recall that a few years back, the immediate past president of the NSC funded is it McBan, also you call them, and it was even directed in current council that the NAEC president should reach out to them and get them to register with NAEC. And we need to know, the family needs to know the progress from that action.
Thank you very much, current president. Let me start with the progress so far. In my last year's engineering assembly, I gave the report, but I will recap it. That they promised, NSC promised, the past president promised to sponsor 2,000 artisans, and they started with 333. They will be doing it in batches. So we are still reminding them. We have sent appreciation letter, and we appreciate them so much. We still have 1,677. So we will continue to work with them to see that we accomplish that. We thank you so much once again, sir. Then, secondly, our advocate, we want to thank you so much, the past president of Koren. You have been very supportive to us. We cannot thank you enough, but I will want all the past presidents of NAEC that are present to stand up and just bow in respect to show complete appreciation to the past president of Koren. Thank you so much, thank you. Though in absentia, I know the president will take it for him. We had wanted to. So this is the progress so far from NSC. But I know they will still do more. We will still continue to talk with him. On the issue of sponsorship to conferences, I said it in my earlier presentation. But I still want to remind us that even those that were not able to sponsor those that will come for this conference, we have our conference in Lafia by November. You can sponsor everybody. Our fee is not much, but you can sponsor them if you have missed this one. Even those that came for this, we can still resend them to that. I think that will also do us a lot. Thank you so much. We appreciate all NSC members, from the president down to everybody. The appeal we just made.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You are going beyond syllables. Sit down.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay.
The variation in the curriculum will encourage entrepreneurship in the graduate, and I think going from the graduates or university are encouraged to migrate to the outcome-based engineering education system so that we can fully get the benefit. In addition to this, Koren, as informed by the president in his address, has introduced CPD. And some of these are CPD points that are specific to anything that will be in practice. So associations are encouraged to create programs. In fact, firms, engineering firms are also encouraged to create programs that will enable people earn CPD points. Hopefully, I think when the regulation comes out and becomes a requirement, practitioners will be encouraged to hand points that will encourage or will improve their practice. To address the issue of human capital flight and slow pace of technological development in Nigeria, how is Coren supporting individual academic research in Nigeria? I think this is a very good point, and Coren may have to look into this. Coren should support research because it will help, at least to help grow knowledge. So I think Coren will take this as an advice. Whatever that Coren made so far since 2019, in terms of partnership with stakeholders in the implementation of outcome-based education, I think I've answered this one. What is the present national policy on ex parte quota? Coren, in fact, has gone ahead of this. The Executive Order 5, which makes it compulsory for practitioners to be involved in science, engineering, technology projects. That apart, Coren now has STC and also the expatriate monitoring team for states. So I think if the STC in any state is doing well, this is part of the things they should monitor. Where you have an expatriate, the expatriate is required to practice in areas that are not available in this country. And if they have to even do, there should be an attachment of who and who are they training. So I think it is important that the STC should also know that as part of their objective is to also monitor ex parte quota. Since it is not a document that you can be annexed anywhere, I would think the best bet is to use the Executive Order 5 and insist that any expatriate working in Nigeria qualifies where he is engaged in, what field of engineering he is doing, and who are the engineers working under him to understudy him. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Who? Memaji.
The President with capital T and Presidents with small P's. Good afternoon. My question is state technical committees. Now, we have not been able to get the states in line to get all the 36, talk less of bringing in the local governments. I think it's not only the responsibility of Coren to get these things checked. We have building controls, ministries that are in each state, and Coren is not an external body. It involves all these people. So please, this should not be just left to Coren. Even if the state technical offices are created and developed, we use engineers, technologists, and technicians to enforce these things. Thank you.
Okay. No. Thank you very much. Who else has a question? Ramson, you have a question. I think you have another one here. So come and I'll hand this over to you.
Mr. President,
Let me give you.
the presidents of the professional associations, my senior professional colleagues here, and the rest of us, good afternoon. The question I have here, the first one, which is the original one before this addendum, is from engineer Anidu OA, and he puts his registration number. His question goes thus: there are menace of most Chinese and Indian companies employing technicians, craftsmen, and engineers from their countries in most manufacturing companies. And we are talking of unemployment in the country. Please, what is Koren NSE doing to control this menace, if not completely stopping it? That's an interesting question. And my answer is this: to man those positions. So we ourselves, as individuals, must be ready to up our games in terms of the skills that we have and our preparedness and attitude to face some of the challenging conditions that are in these companies. Employ almost exclusively Chinese and Indians. And it is tough to work in those places. Most Nigerians go in there, they work for a short while, and they run away. So yes, while we want to challenge them for bringing in a large number of their own nationals, are we prepared ourselves to work under the same kind of conditions? Are we prepared to change our attitude to physical, exerting work? Because if we are not, we can't complain about the man who goes out to say, this is the man who will do my work for me. Otherwise, his company will fold up. There's no point in having an organization, a company that is meant to make money, that is meant to produce, and does not have the people who will run that company and make it work. On our part, therefore, we must ensure, we must be prepared to work and face those challenging conditions. And of course, if you know that there's any company that is discriminating against employment of Nigerians with the right quality of skills, please bring it to the attention of the appropriate officers representing Koren in your environment, or directly to the council in its offices in Abuja here, or any of the regional offices, so that the matter can be taken up, can be properly investigated, and if the company is found culpable, will be punished, or at least steps will be taken to reverse the situation and correct things. So please, it's up to us on our own parts to do the part that we need to do. Koren is not an octopus, and it needs registered practitioners to bring to its knowledge some of the things that are going on. Even the police asks that citizens should let them know if you see something, you say something. So it is similar with Koren. You see anything, please say that thing and say it specifically. So Koren knows where to go in order to address an issue. Thank you. Second question. Is Koren aware that some private universities have technologies 321, senior technologies 321? Please, is it correct? What is the benefit of a Koren registered technologist who has been registered and submits it to the universities? I think the issue of employment, gradations, and remunerations had been taken up here before. I don't know what I need to add to that, because as was said, some university VC told one of our members that the university was not established by Koren it is established or it will take its instructions from NUC. There are different levels of involvement that different organizations are saddled with in interaction with other organizations. Our responsibility, more than anything else, is to be sure that those who work in these organizations are properly registered and that they earn the right levels of remuneration commensurate with their input. The hood does not make the monk. Let us please accept that when you are working, you are not supposed to just earn money for the fun of it. You are supposed to make an input into the organization you are working for. So if I say, oh, I'm technologist 1, and then all I need to do is show up in the office at 8 a.m. and close at 4 p.m. and do nothing, at the end of the month I expect to earn a salary. You are not likely to become a senior technologist. Wherever we are, let us make the input that makes an impact. That way, we will get recognized. Recognition is free. Respect begets respect. Make a decent input in wherever you are, in whatever you do. You will be recognized naturally by those who appreciate your input. It is not enough here to say, oh, I'm already registered. I'm grade level 1. Therefore, I'm entitled to go to grade level 2 after 2 years. If you're doing nothing, you should be shown the way even before the 2 years come. Seriously. Let us live here with a mindset that we ought to make an impact in wherever we are put to make an input. Please. Thank you very much. You earn your salary and you earn rewards, even beyond your salary, for doing the right thing and making the right impact. Is Korean aware that some... Okay, I think I've answered this. This is the next one. While is... this is going to be a tough question. While is that both the engineers and... I think it's why is it that both the engineers and technologists are paying the same conference fee with other fees, while both are not entitled to the same benefits from Koren? This from technologist Onya Valentin. If you want to stay in the same room, you must pass through the same door. So if you ask
very much. Thank you, sir. Very quickly, please. Valerie Aberaba. Oh, Valerie is coming on another body. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Number one, I'm not Valerie Agberagba. My name is Funola Ojelade. Valerie was called from the office as soon as she received these questions, and she passed them down to me somehow. So I have 2 questions here. The first one says, I'm Engineer Group Captain H.A. Meshach. I have observed that there was no safety or emergency awareness brief throughout this 30th Engineering Assembly. I stand to be corrected. We have no proper orientation of the hall and don't know the number of exits in case of an emergency. I'm therefore suggesting that a clear safety brief should be included in our subsequent gatherings to reduce confusion whenever we need to evacuate the hall on an emergency. Thank you, sir. I believe this is a suggestion that is well taken, and I also believe it's an oversight because many of the members of the planning committee have actually seen them give safety briefs at some other events. So I believe this is an oversight, and the correction has been taken. Subsequently, there will be safety brief at every meeting for the 3 days. Thank you. The second question I have here says, how can Coren help engineers who are undergoing casualization at their place of work, particularly at the NNPC, where some have been there for more than 8 years as casual workers? Well, NNPC, I know it's not a private company. Well, it's been government for so long until they became limited recently. But I know that companies do this casualization for a reason, usually so that they can pay less than they would have paid. And there are many reasons why you want to pay less, like the last question talked about companies folding up. Casualization is against labor law, we know that, and even many companies know that, but they still continue to do it. As for Coren, I don't see how Coren will single out their own people, except Coren communicates with the Nigerian Labour Congress to get this done. But at the same time, I know that organizations like NNPC and will I say government or quasi-government organizations, they have more to deal with that makes them to go into this casualization. Sometimes, in fact many times, they have staff that are imposed on them by so many authorities that they become so overstaffed. And the only way they can kind of keep afloat is to do this. So, except if Coren is willing to go through the NLC, I don't see how Coren by itself can ask companies not to give people casual staff, especially because many times if you work hard or you have the right connection, you're able to eventually become a staff. People that take the casualization also take it for a reason. You can't find anything else to do. But if you actually believe it's too long and the company is not willing or does not have the capacity to absorb at this point, it's also good to look other direction and see how you can get fulfilled. That is what I'll say about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Felicia, you still have some questions? 2 questions. The last 2, I think, Engineer Kashim Ali and NSC President. After this, then we'll wrap up.
I have 2 different questions from 2 people, but one of them they are the same. Is asking, what is Coren doing to regulate the practice of engineering in aviation sector, since NCAA is the sole regulator? Then second person asks about that NCAA issues licenses to person to practice as maintenance engineers. Some of them with ND, they are called engineers. While with Coren, we come in here to assist, educate, or advise in this special field. I want to state categorically that aviation is a specialized field, and Coren registration is for you to practice engineering in any of your specialized field, not just aviation. For those of us who hold our respective licenses, by that I mean for those of us who are air traffic safety electronics personnel license holders, or air traffic controllers, or those who hold the pilot licenses or aircraft maintenance engineering licenses, you can only use that to work in the aviation industry. You cannot use that elsewhere. It's like certification for those specialties